Welcome to an overview of the Descarte Shipments web application. Today we're going to go through the application by first signing in as the user. You'll see that there are two options as a user as you sign in from the login page. First is the theme code. I'll leave the theme code as what we call the social theme. Next is the team code. The team code is a dynamic pull-down menu option, as only users that are assigned to multiple teams will have this option. Today I'll select the web team as I sign in. As I log into the application, you'll see that the first view this user has set up is to view the shipments in what we call the data grid. The data grid is structured into a few different quadrants, first being the top menu options that you can exit the application, change user preferences, go to what we call the quick tracking menu, which you'll see in a few moments, and toggling the full screen, which would show all of the data grid as we see here, or show the details portion. We'll leave it as the default view. Here on the left hand side, you see that there are different modules or different shipment types that you can track within the application. Those all listed there range from brokerage applications to international freight to even amendments or even the e-billing application. Here by default we're logged into the Canadian brokerage. At the top of the data grid you'll see that there are different ways you can filter the data that you see on the screen. I'll pull down the menu, go to what we call transaction number, and you'd be able to then type in the number as needed and use any type of qualifier that you'd want, begins, matches with the like option, and then to be able to sort the browser. Here is what we call the data grid, where you can see all the different columns that the shipment might have, the information within it, including vendors and ship dates and so on. This browser is quite wide, that shows a lot of the data that would pertain to the actual shipment that then is displayed in the browser. Here at the bottom is what we call the details view, and that's the tab that we're by default logged into. Details view is structured in a few different ways. You can have things like data cards, which we have here, which list client data and so on, vendor if we had it on the shipment, what we call the event log, here where I'm highlighted, that we can see milestones that get the shipment against the shipment, and there at the bottom references that would show all the POs listed or bill of lading numbers. Anything that's referenced against a shipment as a data attribute is visible there. A couple additional options here in the details view. You can look at doc view, which shows all of the attached documents against the transaction. This is external documents. They wouldn't be things like B3 and release notifications. Those are all within the options that you can print. We'll see that in a moment. This is all the backup information, commercial invoice, images, and so on. There's also an option that you can view the CCI directly from here, the data grid. Often many shipments web users are coming here to look at backup information and to be able to print the commercial invoice. That you can do very easily. And here, to go back to the middle portion of the screen, is what we call the command line, where you can do various functions against the transaction that you're on, or additional functions like reporting that would be outside of just the shipment that we're highlighted on. A quick example of that is I'm on a particular shipment and I'm going to something called the print options. Here in the print options we can see all of the different available outputs that we can have against this transaction. This one doesn't have a B3 or isn't released, so all we can really do is print the CCI. There's a nice function within this option as well that we can print the entire package, and what that will do is print a billing invoice, print the B3, print the backup documentation all into one PDF. Some other functions within this menu are what we call reports. So here we have about 15 or so canned reports, as we call them, that you as a shipments web user can go and print maybe a entry count by date for you as an importer, billing, B3 cross-reference, B3 data tracking, a lot of great reports that you can print in a self-serve way. Going now to another function that is very popular is something called Customize. Customize changes the user experience for you as a shipments web user, that you can go and specify what columns you want to see, what order, what color, so on and so forth. That's that first customized data grid in the columns. Next would be to customize the details view, where we can see different types of information on the details view. In this setup, we have some information like client code, vendor code, gross weights, and so on as data cards. Next quadrant, as you saw previously, we showed the event log, and the last one we showed references. So that's customizable by user. If you'd like to see another one, you can simply take a data element and drag it over to the area that you want to see. The last tab is called the Customize tab, where you can specify application level functions that you can say, I'd like to see a number of the amount of rows that I would like to see. Another great one is the default filter. As you log into the application, we showed all shipments. Popular filters, as we've preloaded them for some users, are released and not released, and in transit as well. This will, of course, now change the user experience. As you log into the application, it would load this different filter. I'll go ahead and select released and not released. And the default tab when I'm in this data grid view, so we can see the details, which are those data cards that we set up in the previous screen, or we could show the shipment specific documents as they would be visible against the transaction, or of course that CCI that we have in the background there, that we can default that as a view. I'm going to choose the CCI, and I'm going to go ahead and save that to my profile. Now every time I log in, we'll see the released and not released transactions, and then also by default we'll be going to the view CCI. Lastly, the area of the application that I want to show next is the quick tracking. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a PO number called PO test. I will tell the system I can track. In any of these radio buttons, by transaction number, manifest, code control number, billing invoice number, even quick shipment tracking, which goes through containers, which goes through bill of lading, master waybill, a lot of different data elements. You can go by basically a wildcard search and tell the system I have a reference number, and please do go ahead and track my shipment. In this case, the system found this transaction. It displays for you a lot of data cards. And here at the bottom is where we show the different print options. So if I'd like to print the CCI, I can go ahead and just print the CCI. Quick tracking is a great place if you have your reference number, and all you need to do is print documents. This is a great, quick way of seeing transaction information, but then printing documents. So I'm going to go ahead and close the CCI. You can print the B3 in different formats. In this case, it's just the standard format, but we have others. Compress 1 bar, compress 5 bar. You can print the B3 recap. You can print things like the billing invoice, which will then show all the charges the broker has done, or you can show supporting documents, which are all those SSD documents attached to the transaction. This is the source data. Quick tracking is, again, for those situations where you have a reference number and all you want to do is track, whereas the data grid that we showed previously was an area of the application where you can do a lot more to the shipment. You can not only just print documents as we have in quick tracking, but you can extract, print reports, see different shipment types. May it be international freight, North American freight, those kinds of things, all are within the data grid. This completes the quick tutorial of the Shipments Web application.